fourth grade. Welcome to Monday. Today is March 30th. Can you believe how fast this month has gone, even with us staying home, staying safe and healthy? We have a few assignments to talk about today, and then we'll get started with our reading. So firstly, you have your book club reading that is due for tomorrow, and then tomorrow is your discussion day on Google Classroom. In writing, you are brainstorming about a unique talent. I gave this question some thought. What is my unique talent? And I think something I would write about is how I'm pretty good at baking. I can bake some very unique desserts pretty successfully, such as eclair or angel food cakes. My husband, Jacob, Mr. Rogahn, his family grew up with this angel food cake with this really light special frosting. And what makes it special or unique is that it uses egg whites. You can ask your parents about that. What are egg whites? But it's the white part, not the yellow part of the egg. And you whip it up and it becomes kind of cloudy or foamy. And you use that sometimes in your baking or cooking. And my mother-in-law has tried to perfect this frosting for the angel food cake, my sister-in-law, and nobody besides me and my husband's grandmother is able to make this really light, fluffy frosting out of egg whites. So I think that classifies as a talent. For baking. So your talent brainstorm is off of the Google slide. There is links all over our PowerPoint this week. And the brainstorm sheet looks a little bit different. It's not our usual web. For this brainstorm, it's kind of a fill-in-the-blank style. It's going to really ask you how you got your talent, who helped you with your talent, all of those questions. So you need to think first and then use this graphic organizer or brainstorm sheet to help you decide the things that you need to talk about in your paper this week. In social studies, we're done with science. We're switching to social studies this week. We are doing our 4th out of 5 regions, which is the Southwest region. So in our weekly slides, there is a packet of information, there is some reading, and then a response section in your link on our Google Slides. And for Wednesday, you are focusing on the land and water section. So for Wednesday, you need to have them read, highlighted, and write your little paragraph in your packet. Take a picture of your finished packet or section of your writing and turn that into Google Classroom. This week, due Friday, we have another second step video with a written response. That'll be found in Google Classroom. Also make sure you're checking PowerSchool as to what assignments you need to complete for our specials, art, music, and gym. So, with all those things being said, let's talk about Maniac Magee. For Maniac, we are on chapter 10, and so we are almost halfway through at least the first section of the book. But anyways, oh yeah, because there's a lot of chapters here. So for part 1 of the book, and then we'll start chapter 2 after a while. So we're halfway through part 1. We're on chapter 10, like I said, and we're learning all these things about Maniac and his unique world for his part of history. We know that there is some social issues that are within this book because there is segregation or the purposeful or on purpose segregation of people or people types. And so for Maniac Magee, that is the segregation or keeping away from between the African Americans and the Caucasian or white people. That's a unique part of history. It's just something that happened as a social issue. We know that Maniac has entered this community and he does all these crazy things that people are just kind of like, oh my goodness, he did what? And that's why in the beginning of this book, there was the little folklore or myth of Maniac Magee, which is a story somewhat based on truth, but a lot of it is exaggerated or really pulled apart to make it sound grander or more crazy than it actually was if you were actually at that event. And so Maniac is really changing up this community, and we'll have to see what happens in chapter 10. So that's where we're picking up today. So, of course, Maniac didn't know any of that. He was simply glad the chase was over. He turned and started walking, catching his breath. East Chestnut, East Marshall, Green Street, Arch Street. He had been around here before. That first day with the girl named Amanda. Other days, jogging through. But this was Saturday, not a school day, and there was something different about the streets. Kids, all over. One of them jumping down from a front step and planting himself right in front of Maniac. Maniac had to jerk to a stop from plowing into the kid. Even so, their noses were practically touching. Maniac blinked and stepped back. The kid stepped forward. Each time Maniac stepped back, the kid stepped forward. They traveled practically half a block that way. Finally, Maniac turned and started walking. The kid jumped around and plunked himself in front again. He bit off a chunk of a candy bar he was holding. "Where you going?" he said. Candy bar flakes flew from his mouth. "I'm looking for Sycamore Street," said Maniac. "Do you know where that is?" "Yeah, I know where that is." Maniac waited, but the kid said nothing more. "Well, do you think you could tell me where it is?" Stone was softer than the kid's glare. "No." Maniac looked around. Other kids had stopped playing, were staring. Someone called, "Do him, Mars." Someone else, "Waste him." The kid, as you probably guessed by now, was none other than Mars Bar Thompson. Mars Bar heard the calls, and the stone got harder. Remember, the stone is describing his face. Just that evil kind of just stare down. Then suddenly he stopped glaring. Suddenly he was smiling. He held up the candy bar an inch from Maniac's lips. "Wanna bite?" Maniac couldn't figure. "You sure?" "Yeah, go ahead. Take a bite." Maniac shrugged, took the Mars bar, bit off a chunk, and handed it back. "Thanks." Dead silence along the street. The kid had done the unthinkable. He had chomped on one of Mars's own bars. Not only that, but white kids just didn't put their mouths where black kids had theirs. Be it soda bottles, spoons, candy bars, and the kid had even gone for the unused end. He had chomped right over Mars Bar's own bite marks. I don't know about you, but even if it was somebody I knew, I don't like sharing my food, my candy with anybody else anyways, even if it's the unbitten end. So the fact that Maniac is doing this, and remember, there's segregation. So I'm just like the author said, you're not sharing anything with somebody that looks different than you. That is huge historically. Mars Bar was confused. So am I. So am I, 4th grade. Who was this kid? What was this kid? As usual, when Mars Bar got confused, he got mad. He thumped Maniac in the chest. You think you bad or something? Maniac, who was now twice as confused as Mars Bar, blinked. Huh? You think you come down here and be bad? That's what you think? Mars Bar was practically shouting now. No, said Maniac. I don't think I'm bad. I'm not saying I'm an angel either. Not even real good. Somewhere in between, I guess. Mars Bar jammed his arms downward, stuck out his chin, and sneered. Am I bad? Maniac was befuddled. I don't know. 1 minute you're yelling at me, the next minute you're giving me a bite of your candy bar. The chin jutted out more. Tell me I'm bad. Maniac didn't answer. Flies stopped buzzing. I said, tell me I'm bad. Maniac blinked, shrugged, sighed. It's none of my business. If you're bad, let your mother and father tell you. Now it was Mars Bar doing the blinking, stepping back, trying to sort things out. After a while, he looked down. What's that? Before Maniac answered, a book. Mars Bar had snatched it from his hand. This ain't yours, he said. He flipped through some pages. Looks like mine. It's somebody else's. It's mine. I'm keeping it. With rattlesnake speed, Maniac snatched the book back, except for one page, which stayed ripped in Mars Bar's hand. Give me the page, said Maniac. Mars Bar grinned. Take it, fish belly. Silence. Eyes. The flies were waiting. East End vultures. Suddenly, neither kid could see the other because a broom came down like a straw curtain between their faces, and a voice said, I'll take it. It was the lady from the nearest house, out to sweep her steps. She lowered the broom, but kept it between them. Better yet, she said to Mars Bar. Just give it back to him. Mars Bar glared at her. There wasn't an 11-year-old in the East End who could stand up to Mars Bar's glare. In the West End, even high schoolers were known to crumble under the glare. The old ladies on both sides of Hector Street, it was all but fatal. And when Miss Mars Bar stepped off the curb and combined the glare with his super slow dip stride, slump shuffle, well, it was said that he could back up traffic all the way to Bridgeport, while he took 10 minutes to cross the street. But not this time. This time Mars Bar was up against an East End lady in her prime. And when it was over, only one glare was left standing. And it wasn't Mars Bar. Mars Bar handed back the torn page, but not before he crumpled it into a ball. The broom pushed him away, turned him around, and swept him up the street. The lady looked down at Maniac, a little of the glare lingering in her eyes. You better get on, boy. Where you belong. I can't be following you around. I got things to do. Maniac just stood there a minute. There was something he felt like doing. And maybe he would have. But the lady turned and went back inside her house and shut the door. So he walked away. Chapter 11 will be tomorrow. Fourth grade, I'm so glad you joined me today. If you need anything, please send me an email or a message in Google Classroom. I receive all of those. I hope you have a great day now that the sunshine is out. And I'll be seeing you soon tomorrow.